What's going on? So, I want to make this video about the differences between MDA and MDMA. So, this is just from my own personal experiences, but I've done MDA about 20 times or so, and I've probably done MDMA probably about 10 times or so. So, I have a little more experience with MDA. And the first thing I've noticed, the difference between them, is that MDA is more psychedelic like. So, and I guess that MDA requires a lower dosage. So, the highest dose of MDA that I did, I think, was like 180 milligrams, or 190. And the highest dose I've done of MDMA was 250 milligrams. So, and I'm always eating my dosages. So, I guess the one thing I noticed that MDA, if you 117 milligrams and 117 milligrams of MDMA, MDA is definitely stronger. There's more of the euphoria. It's a little more relaxing, not as energetic, but it kind of is. Um, I felt a little more wobbly on my legs. Like when I stood up, I kind of felt a little more. I don't know how to explain it because it's kind of like how mushrooms. When I stand up on mushrooms, I feel a little wobbly. I kind of stood up on the MDA, and I felt kind of wobbly, but a little trippy. There was slight visuals, and when I looked at a screen, I was watching this music video, and it's like the music video was slight popping out, kind of like 3D. And I also, with the MDA, I noticed the grid line, that there was like a grid line in the air, kind of like diamonds in the air, but like, but it was just like really trippy, like a psychedelic visual diamonds. When I looked up at the sky, you could see the whole honeycomb fucking pattern thing in the sky as well, like the honeycomb thing in the air, but it was more in the clouds in the sky when I looked, up at the clouds in the sky. So one thing that I have noticed, I guess, is I don't really like MDMA as much as I like MDA because of what I'm looking for. I'm someone who loves psychedelic experiences. I love visuals, I love insight, I love deep insight. With the MDA, there was closed eye visuals. Slight closed eye visuals, but there were still closed eye visuals. With the MDA, I noticed that when me and my girl had sex, that yeah, it was hard to get my thing to work, but at the same time, it wasn't impossible. And it was hard to orgasm, but it wasn't fully impossible. But with the MDMA, it's almost impossible for me to orgasm on MDMA. Now, it could be because of the dosage issue. That with the MDA, because I only took like 117 milligrams that one time, and with almost all my dosages with MDMA ever since the first one, I've been dosing kind of like at 200 milligrams or a little more. So I guess only because when I tried the MDA and it was the euphoria, the serotonin flush, that feeling was a little more stronger. So I was aiming to do the MDMA and try to make that feeling a little more stronger by just taking a little more. But the more I took, the more I realized, okay, there is slight anxiety when it comes to MDMA compared to MDA. The MDA was a lot more stoning, a lot more, things were a lot more sparkly, and I don't know how to explain it, but when I looked at an animated character, like if I looked at an anime girl, right? I would have thought that anime girl was hot as fuck if I was sitting there on MDA, and I would, for some reason, notice beauties and things that I wouldn't have noticed if I was on MDMA. So I guess the overall differences of MDA and MDMA are that MDA is like MDMA with an added psychedelic twist to it. And like I said, how I noticed how like an anime girl would look a lot more hotter and more sexy and more beautiful. I don't know how to explain it other than everything seems more sparkly and everything seems more slight trippy and slight more beautiful. You can see a woman's curves more. You can see, why women at Coachella wear that type of makeup and those outfits, because if I was on MDA, I would have been, I would notice more. But on MDMA, you still have that, but barely. It's not as things aren't as sparkly. You don't necessarily notice, I don't know how to explain it, the girl's makeup as much or the anime character's shape as much. Things do stick out still, and you can still, I guess, admire more beauty in things, admire the beauty in women more, admire the beauty in life more. But with MDMA, it's general. I can definitely see why they use that for therapy. Because with MDA, I didn't really understand the whole, because I thought I was taking MDMA at the time. So therefore, I was like, well, I mean, I guess I can kind of see how they use this for therapy, but like, I wasn't, I don't know. But then when I did MDMA, I was like, okay, now I get it. They're giving people this for therapy because it helps them talk. I'm able to talk about things that, I don't know, just more comfortable. Uh, Spend more time with the kids and more empathetic time with the kids. It's a really hard thing to explain, but like you're more empathetic days after the MDMA. Like even I don't know, even though I haven't done MDMA in like a little while now, I still feel a little more empathetic towards people around me and my family and my loved ones, and I didn't feel that when it came to the MDA. I felt empathetic during the time, and I could have told that if I did MDA with someone that I didn't know, it would have been like I've known them for years. And the same thing with MDMA, but that because the MDA was a little more psychedelic, there was that grid line, there was the slight visuals, the slight closed eye visuals, the sparkliness, and a little more stoned feeling. And that's I guess why I like MDA more than I like MDMA. But both of them are beautiful substances, and both of them have their own thing. They're both empathogens, and they're both beautiful. But I think MDA is a little more beautiful. That's the only negative side effect of MDA is there is possibly more neurological damage to the receptors of the brain with MDA than there is MDMA. Because with both of these substances, both of them have possibility to cause brain damage, and not necessarily brain damage as in what you're thinking, but to damage the serotonin receptors that they're attaching to, and based on how often you're using them and how high the dose you're using them and all this other shit. But I guess what I've just realized is there is a difference, and something that clicked when I realized there was a difference between MDMA and MDA, and how they both test. Like if you get a test kit and you test your MDMA, most people's test kits are going to test positive for MDMA, whether it's MDA, MDMA, 5-APB, 6-APB, 5-MAPB. Like, though those substances on the basic drug test kit will test positive and say you have MDMA. So really the only way you'll be able to generally know is if one, you generally know your source, or two, you send your shit to a lab, or three, you generally know your source and you know the effects of the substances. You know what they're supposed to look like, you know what they're supposed to taste like, you know what they're supposed to feel like. If you know that, then you know what you have. But yeah, I guess that's really it, because I can kind of go on and try to explain more, but really that's really the basic of it. That I did notice that, see, it's hard to notice how long these things last, but I think MDA lasts a little longer. I maybe not by much, but maybe it's because it's a little stronger, like at a lower dose. So therefore, take a little higher of a dose of it. It's gonna last a little longer, but it's gonna feel a little stronger. But that was really it. So I hope you guys learned something from this video. And yeah, stay safe out there. Test your substances. Know where the fuck you get your drugs from. Know what drug you're taking. Know what the feeling's supposed to feel like. Very simple.